component.
Sorry about that. I got to record.
It's all right. So yeah, anyways, not sure if you got that or not, but the front end editing for the contact component is my favorite feature so far for Joomla 4.
Very nice. And Pat's got a puppy with her today.
Yes, it was either that or we'd hear from him all through the meeting. I'm Pat Vandenbosch, and I live in Linden, Tennessee, actually Perry County. I don't claim a city. And the one thing that really made me happy with Joomla 4 was when they added the feature of being able to create a folder in the media. Because it's like I'd go to a component or something and go to edit it, and then it's like, oh, now I have to get back out, go make a folder, put the, so it's much easier now.
These are things I didn't realize. Very nice. Alan, do you want to say hello?
Hello, I'm Alan Madiger. I'm in Dallas, Texas. And quick question about Joomla Day. Is most of it going to be virtual? Because I'm having surgery the day before.
Oh,
so I'm not going to be able to make it.
Yeah, so everything will be in a Zoom.
Okay.
So if the person is there, they're going to be speaking into the Zoom and to the audience. And then anyone who's virtual, like a speaker that's coming in virtually, they're also going to be on Zoom, and we're going to project in the room, and we're going to participate.
Okay. Yeah, I was supposed to not be here today. I was supposed to be having surgery this morning, but they postponed it till next month. So I'll be down for 2 weeks and unable to drive or do much of anything. So I wanted to participate, but it changed of plans. But if most of it's virtual, that'll work. I could still participate.
Keep your mind off of everything.
Anyway, I like the back end on Joomla 4 a lot. It's a lot more intuitive than the previous versions of Joomla. I'm in the process of moving all my sites to Joomla 4. Well, actually to a new server, cloud server, as well as upgrading them to Joomla 4. I'm now fighting the notorious white screen of death with one of my sites.
No. One of our speakers is talking about hosting on the cloud, so you'll have to check that out. Yeah, the topics are really interesting. So if you get a chance to jump on the website, they were just posted, I think, this week.
Mm-hmm.
Wellesley from Derbyshire, is this the first time you've been here? You want to say hello?
Hi, yeah, this is the first time I've been here. Thanks for inviting me into the room. I'm Wesley, Derbyshire from Tucson, Arizona. So yeah, I don't have the time difference thing. So I had to scratch my head remembering that this morning. Anyway, I'm actually legally blind. And so for me, I actually like the new accessibility features on the cPanel for Joomla. That seems to work a lot better for me in this version.
Very good. And let us know if anything's lacking from this meeting. Are you able to participate or if you need anything?
Oh, thanks.
Okay, great. Anna, she's our spotlight today. So I'm actually going to do you last. Can I do you last? We'll come back to you.
Yeah, sure.
Olivier.
Okay. Olivier, I'm developer. I create third-party extensions for Joomla, and my company is Simplify Your Web. I'm also the release manager for 4.3. Release candidate is coming on Tuesday. So if you have the time, and if you have some test sites, you can test the new release on. It would be great because we want to make sure that everything is perfect. So when we release next month. So thank you very much in advance.
All right. Anyone who wants to volunteer, let Olivier know. Richard, say hello.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, my name's Richard Gosler. I'm a web developer. I've got an agency in a town called Bournemouth, which is on the south coast of England.
Recording in progress. Recording in progress.
Can you hear me okay?
Something.
Get some feedback.
Okay, how's that?
Whoever just jumped out seems to be the cause.
They're trapped in a sort of echo loop of death now, wherever they are. Yeah, so yeah, I run an agency in Bournemouth, which is on the south coast of England. I really like Joomla 4 because I was able to basically figure everything out without looking at the book. So it ticks all the boxes for intuitiveness, and yeah,
Really
love
does.
it.
Wonderful. Derek, is this your first time coming? Want to say hello and where you're from?
It is. Thank you. I'm Derek Madge from Waterloo, Ontario. I feel like, you know, those outer space movies where there are people in cryogenic stasis and they open it up. I've been like that. I've been working with Joomla 3 for about 12 years, just as a hobbyist, basically, local scouts group, that sort of thing. But my day job will be retiring in June, at the end of June. And so I figured I'd like to keep my brain going. Yeah, it seems harder every day. And develop a few professional level websites and make a little extra income as well. So as to your question, I'm not sure because I am just haven't had the experience with Joomla 4 yet to answer that.
You will like it. Karen will be speaking at J-Day too, so say hello. Oh, we can't hear you, Karen, but you're not muted.
Yeah, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, hi, I'm Karen. I own Maven Design Studio. Yes, I am speaking, actually I'm speaking with Joe on Saturday. And in terms of favorite thing about Joomla 4, the one thing I've noticed is increased speed on one site in particular that made a big difference. So I was very happy about that.
Very good. And Mike, you want to say hello?
Hi, I'm Mike Kreitzer from Los Angeles. I was affected by the time change. Last night I went to bed thinking, oh, great, it's going to be at 9 today instead of 8. And then I woke up this morning and realized, no, it's actually 7.
You still made it.
I just launched my first Joomla 4 site. So I haven't, I mean, there's so many things that are new and better that one could say. And but for me, what's been really exciting is being part of the volunteer group. And so my favorite thing right now is all of the volunteers that put their time and energy into Joomla.
That's a good answer. I like that. Ellen, say hello.
Hi, I'm Ellen from Fairfield, Connecticut. Little thing on Joomla 4 that I like is the add to menu. Used to use a plugin from, I think, Regular Labs on Joomla 3, but it's nice to have it in the core now.
Agreed. Frank, you want to say hello?
Hi, sure. I'm Frank. I have a single member LLC here in Oxnard, California, which is on the southern part of the Central Coast. And I think the admin panel in Joomla is greatly improved. I like the fact that modules are now under content, and also like the fact that admin and site modules and template styles, things like that have been separated out. It's a lot easier to find.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Julia, is this the first time, and where are you coming from?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear. Well, yep, go ahead, Julie. Is there two of you?
It's just me. I'm Julie from South Africa.
Okay.
And it's my first time joining.
Thank you. Welcome. Are you a Joomla 4 user, and what's your favorite thing about it?
I'm still experiencing with it, but I love it because it's actually very easy on the eyes. It's my favorite part. It's for a person that's over 50 that wears glasses. You can actually see it.
Very accessible, I agree. Thank you.
Yes, pleasure.
Allison.
Hey, I'm Allison, and I'm from Guelph, just south of Joe and just east of Derek. And favorite thing about Joomla 4? Speed is great, but I absolutely am using the heck out of the backup on the home screen button.
Good. Okay.
That is just like so handy.
Wonderful. Euros, you want to say hello?
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Yorgos. I'm from Cyprus, the small island in Mediterranean Sea. I have a small agency that I do building websites. Joomla 4 is not on the, I haven't built any new site on Joomla 4 yet, but I have transformed some of the old Joomla 3 to Joomla 4. And favorite thing, I think, the backend is what I like more because it gives me more opportunity to see things that I am gonna use. That's all.
Wonderful. Wait till you get there. Did I miss anybody? I just kind of went around, but people were still jumping in.
Paul?
Paul, is there?
Paul, you have to unmute your mic.
Oh, are we on two screens? I don't see Paul.
There we go. Yeah, I'm Paul Adelard. I'm from Tennessee. In fact, I don't live too far from Pat, so we collaborate a little bit and have some good times. I retired from USDA a bunch of years ago, where I was a project manager in IT for web development and so forth. Helped to build a web farm out there in Colorado at that time. And I was delighted when Joomla came along, and I really like Joomla 4 and trying to get some sites converted over to it. I'm not going to be able to stay with you very long right now because I have to leave, but I'll look at the video later. And it's good to meet all of you and know that there's other good people out there doing great things. So I'm here to learn what I can learn from you.
Well, Pat, thanks for inviting Paul and welcome to the group. And absolutely, we'll post it on YouTube in the next day or two. I appreciate it. All right, we have a great attendance. That's a lot of people we went through. And I'm Robin Clapp, and I run the group with Rich and Joe. And we started up a year ago, right after JJ USA 2022. It's a virtual group for folks who are in business, designing websites in Joomla for clients, for companies and organizations, nonprofits. And I absolutely love Joomla 4. And what I love most about it is how much is included in core. When you install, you can do just about everything. And starting out, I started in Joomla 1.0. It's come a long way in that respect. And every time something is in the core, it's supported by core releases. And that just makes my website maintenance job so much easier. So I love to do as much as I possibly can in core, and Joomla makes it so easy for me to do that. All right, so before we go too far, we're gonna have a spotlight today. Anna Robinson's gonna introduce herself. I'm gonna give her 10 minutes. I'll give you a little warning when that time is almost up. And you can share the screen if you want, or you can just speak to us, either way.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to start just speaking to you, and then I'm going to share for 2 seconds in the end.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, okay. So I'll start with that question about what I love about Joomla the most, and that is definitely
it's beautiful, the back end, and it's accessible. So yeah, that's what I like. And also, can I say one more thing? I didn't know. I think the modules, I mean, the custom modules that you can create in the backend, they existed before, right? But I had no idea. So I started creating them now, and I think it's great. Okay. So, so I'm a graphic designer in Sweden, and I also do Joomla websites. And I've been working as a graphic designer for about 30 years. And I took up Joomla about 10 years ago. So that was 1.5. But from the very beginning, my dream wasn't to become a graphic designer. I wanted to become a veterinarian because I've always loved animals. But then my father told me there was no way I would be able to become a vet because I wasn't good enough at math. And my father was a biochemist, so he was really good at math. And had this been today, I wouldn't have given up. But then when I was 9 or 10 years old, I just accepted and gave up. So that meant I didn't have a clear goal, and I mostly concentrated on having fun and hang with people that I found exciting. So I did bring my camera when I went clubbing though, and people started ordering prints from me. So this eventually gave me the chance to work on movie sets where I had all sorts of odd jobs as an art production assistant. And then on one tour working for a feature film on location in Copenhagen, Denmark, I met a French guy and ended up marrying him. So I moved to Paris, France. And after spending some time just taking French classes, but still being far from fluent in French, I figured the best way I could use my time would be to enroll in some kind of education to learn more French and possibly a profession as well. So I first enrolled at uni in the psychology program, and I just about passed the language test that was required for foreign students. But it turned out I wasn't able to follow and understand well enough. And it also turned out that all my French classmates used shorthand, stenography to take notes very fast. But I had never learned shorthand, and I couldn't follow the professor anyway. But I had this Swedish friend in Paris who studied graphic design. And she suggested I try that instead, since it's more hands-on and less lecturing and note-taking. So I did, and that's how I ended up a graphic designer. But to be admitted to this program, you first had to have your portfolio accepted, which I didn't have. And I wasn't good at drawing. So I finally came up with the idea of creating a story with black and white photos that I then painted on with airbrush. It was all very manual back then. So no Joomla then. So after my 4 years in the graphic design program, I did some freelance work in Paris. And I was really impressed by the French way of encouraging people who are starting their own business, because the first 2 years were completely tax-free. In Sweden, you pay half of what you sell in taxes from day one. So that is 50% goes to taxes in Sweden. Yep. And then after 9 years in France, I got divorced and moved back to Sweden again and started working as an employee for Leo Burnett in Stockholm. And it was mostly McDonald's and Philip Morris, a lot of late night work waiting for lawyers to decide which images we could use. the closed pack of Marlboros or the open packs with cigarettes sticking out of them. So super exciting. And then when I became a mom, I realized it wouldn't work out with the long hours. So I started my own little business. In the beginning, I targeted Swedish companies that were importing French products. And that way I could also help with the language, both actually translating product copy, but also sometimes communicate directly with suppliers. And then about 10 years ago, I heard about Joomla for the first time. It was actually a client that made me discover Joomla. He needed a website, so he suggested I learn Joomla and build it for him, which I did. But it wasn't that easy, and I felt really lost in the beginning. But I was so amazed by the help I got from the community. And I still remember the first time when I really needed help, and I would never have managed without it. It was a guy called Dale L. Bracken, and he was a support specialist at Akiba Backup. And I had never experienced someone I didn't even know who would be so kind and patient and empathic. So I've been hooked since then. So the name of my business is Formfranska. And it was actually quite a good icebreaker, but you'd have to understand what it means. So form is design and franska is French. But Formfranska is also the Swedish word for the bread you use for toast. So people would think I was a bakery, which was the funny part. So when I came up with this name, it was because I provided services related to both design and French. But since then, French people have started to speak English, and low-cost countries have taken over the translation business. So I don't do any language-related work anymore. Now it's just graphic design and Joomla. And I mostly work with small business, and I do design for print and web, plus some brand design as well. And I decided I won't bore you with browsing my portfolio here because I haven't had the time to update it. And I'll paste links in the chat so you can find it yourself. And that way it's optional for you. Yeah, so now I'm finished, but I'm gonna share my screen, because now I'm gonna show this. Why won't Keynote won't show up? That's that's so weird. Yeah, I'm sorry then. Well, I'm gonna have to do desktop to share my Keynote then. Okay, so sorry. And then I'm gonna have to. So, okay, so this is the name Formfranska. And form is design and franska is French. But Formfranska is also this bread. Yep, that's it. There you go. So, okay, so I'm finished now. I didn't use my 10 minutes, did I?
Almost. If anyone has any questions for you, they can.
Yeah.
Anyone? I personally love the backstories of everyone here. Very interesting lives coming into Joomla many years later, and it really paints a picture. And I really love the idea where you experienced the help through support, finding someone else. That I think everyone here has a similar story, and it truly made the difference with staying with Joomla all these years. It's just a great community. I was actually having Olivier help me a few minutes before this meeting. I had some things pop up on a tool I was using, and he was all over it, helping me out. So, I mean, we can't do it without each other's help, and I love that.
I do have a question. So I think I heard you mention that, did you say that you worked at Leo Burnett?
Yes, in Stockholm, yeah.
That's a big advertising agency, and I just thought I'd bring that up because a lot of people might not recognize that name, but
Okay, yeah.
one of my schoolmates was the vice president of Leo Burnett in Canada, and big advertising company.
It is. But I think maybe, I mean, it wasn't very exciting because it was these brands like, Philip Morris and McDonald's, and not super exciting.
Anyone else? I see maybe some people might be muted. If you do want to say something, unmute.
Derek here. I was just wondering, Anna, what kind of software do you use in your design?
Yeah, I use Adobe CC, the Adobe suite, all the Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, InDesign, all of them.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else?
Well, I was just in shock that you pay 50% in taxes, and we complain, and that we complain about 20%, you know. Like, what would I do with half the income that I've got?
And this is coming from a state with no sales tax either.
Oh,
or state income tax. Yeah, state income tax.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you spoke up, Adam, because Adam is our next speaker, and he's going to hold our attention for the rest of the meeting, other than the wrap up at the end. Before you get started, though, just a note: we will not be having a meeting in April because it does land while I'm in Texas volunteering for Joomla Day USA, but we will continue in May, and I'll get that date to you as soon as possible. Frank is going to be our spotlight. Joe has someone lined up to be a great speaker for us. More on that to come. So Adam, want to go ahead and introduce yourself and your topic and take over?
Thank you. My name's Adam Melcher. I'm originally fourth generation Los Angelinos, and a recent transplant to the Middle Tennessee area about 10 years ago. And just my background, I came from sales and marketing. I owned a telemarketing company back in LA, and after 20 years got burned out. And at the time, and a family member came and said he had all these products he wanted to sell, and this was back in 2009. And I said, well, that can't be that hard. I mean, let's just put together a website and we'll sell it. And how hard could it be? And so after doing research, I discovered something called VirtuMart, and then realized that I had to piggyback on Joomla and everything in between. And so I have zero formal development training. I did not come from this aspect. I think that part of it makes it easier for me when I'm sitting in front of clients, because I'm used to talking and selling and selling ideas. But the part for me that I think is a testament to Joomla and everything that we've done is not only all the help that I've gotten over the years that's got me to where I am today, but the fact that somebody with no formal training can really build high-end sites for clients that are generating millions of dollars a month is a testament that of what the power of what Joomla can do. So, over the presentation I'm going to show you guys, it's just going to touch on really the three main areas that I focus on when it comes to creating custom websites and being able to build out exactly what the customer needs and even beyond what they were expecting, and doing it in a way that still plays well with Joomla core, where we're not touching core files, and allows us to take these changes and even bring them over to other projects. I was just real quick, I was at a surprise party for my mother in LA a couple nights ago, and there was another developer there, and his wife was complaining about how, don't you hate it when, clients are asking you to do something and then they change their mind at the last second, and then you have to, and I'm thinking, no, I don't, because everything that I do here is either going to be used for the current client or a future client or a previous client, where, so everything, it's like a building block. And it's just like in any other industry, everything that you do, every skill that you add, every, new technique or new method that you discover, it's a building block that gets you higher and higher up the tower. And as we all know, the higher you go, the cleaner the air is, you get to see more, and you also get a chance to fly with the eagles. And that's the beauty, is that, I think everybody that's here, we all have different things that either we want to learn or that we know, and we're not here by accident. We're here because we all want to become better. And I've been building Joomla 4 site, or Joomla 4 and Joomla 3 sites, and heck, originally Joomla 1.5 since 2009, and have a small, I like to say, boutique e-commerce agency, primarily here, just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. And 99% of my projects are Joomla. And when people ask me all the time, how are you able to get, sustain yourself on Joomla only projects? When you're a master craftsman, nobody tells you what tools to use. They don't care. What they want is whatever the architect designed. They want the beautiful home. They want the add-on. They want it. They don't care whether you're using DeWalt or Makita tools. So when somebody starts telling me what tools to use, I'm going to tell them, you need to find somebody that can use those tools better than me, because there is nobody that can outrun me on another site using Joomla. But if somebody wants me to use somebody else, then maybe I'm not the right fit for them. And that allows me to find the right fit for other projects that don't really care about the what, but the results are all that matters. So I guess I'll share my screen, and then I'm really just going to kind of give a brief overview, and then I'm going to show you a lot of different examples. And anybody that's on here that's worked with me before, I see Nate just jumped on. I've been, he's here in Nashville as well, and I've worked on plenty of projects with him. But there's a lot of familiar faces here that I've spent time one-on-one at various times in the last years to help with various different items. And so if you see anything that you like and you want to know how to incorporate into yours, my email is on, is here. You guys can find me in the Facebook group. Anybody that knows me knows I have no problem in helping, because that's how I got here, and I have no problem in paying it forward. So with that being said, I guess I'll share my screen and we will get started. All right, can you guys see this?
Yep, it's good.
Okay, cool. All right, so today we're going to show how to transform your Joomla projects using custom fields, layout overrides. The good thing is that almost every one of these areas is going to be identical, whether you're using Joomla 3 or Joomla 4. And there may be some differences in the files themselves as far as certain functions that are no longer used in Joomla 3 that may need to be. So if you're converting from a Joomla 3 layout override to Joomla 4, there may be some additional work being done. But in general, if you're using the administrator backend to create override templates automatically, then it'll put it in the folders, directories that I'll show you guys, and then we'll go through there, and then I'll show you examples of each use cases for these three. So hopefully for anybody here that gets inspired or sees how this can different aspects can help in some of your projects, afterwards shoot me an email or a message on Facebook, and I will be more than happy to help you implement that in your project. So let's see here. Okay, so Joomla for me is powerful because all the ways that we can customize each site without touching core files. Generally, when I start off on a project, I'm not using a template that's created from another company. It's just like anything else. In the beginning, I did because I needed to, and I used, especially for me, it was a lot of Joomla Arts because they, it was good for me at the time to learn how they structured everything, and then went from that to starting to build my own templates, starting at a very basic level and then adding things. And over time, I've realized that the most important thing, especially dealing with client projects, is to have some sort of structured backend that you can use across the board, and you can style it, you can add different things to really make it unique for each of the projects. But if you have the general structure, like for me, I use Bootstrap 5 on a lot of my projects, and then so when I start a new site, especially e-commerce, I'm not starting off at zero. I'm starting off with a base where everything's already structured in that way, and then I can get to better understand what the message, who the audience, the products, everything else, and then tailor and craft that with their branding, colors, and everything else to capture the company's essence and also attract the right customer that they're looking for that particular product. So in general, the three areas that I usually use to control the experience is on a template level. And these are usually items that are going to be the same throughout the entire site. So for instance, I'll create custom fields in my template XML file for social media links, for third-party scripts, like if there's Google Analytics tracking, or if you have any chats that need to be added on there, or tag manager, whatever it is that that would be a third-party Hotjar or anything else. I'll have a text field that I'll create that will allow the clients to add their own items there without having to, for some of us, I love building, I love creating, I hate maintaining stuff. So when they want me to change stuff, it drives me crazy. I'd rather, and I tell them, if you're going to use me to grow, to become better. Don't use me just to change a picture. And so I will allow them to edit most of the stuff on the site on the front end, where a lot of administrators never even know that there's a back end to use because they don't need to, because I make everything accessible on the front. And that's why I mentioned about the front end contact manager, because for larger companies that have a directory in Joomla 3, they had to use the back end. Now they don't, which makes it easy to manage that. But on the template level could also be, usually you'll find this if you have a third-party template that you've bought or downloaded and used. The general XML file may not be in the exact same location. They may use a plugin to control that, but the overall idea is the same. Once you find out what they're using, if you are using another template, you can add some of those fields to it, which will show. Then the menu level. Well, before we get into that, PHP Storm is the tool that I use. I use this 10 to 12 hours a day for creating, implementing custom features. The best part about this, I've used all sorts, FileZilla, every other FTP, and Notepad++. But what PHP Storm does, it indexes all your files. It connects automatically to your website. So you can have it where you make a change, it saves the file on your computer, but then it automatically uploads directly to whatever project you're working on if you so choose. So it makes it easy to make edits. But the best part is if you make a mistake and let's say you go, I don't know what I did, but it was working before, you can actually look up the history of every single time you save that particular file, go back 2 weeks ago, a month ago, and see what that file looked like. And then so, oh, that's what I did. And you can store it, you can, compare. And oftentimes I'll use the search feature to find where is the file that's controlling this particular thing. And I'll do a search for the class or something that's unique about it. And it'll show me all the files that have that particular, class or structure or whatnot that's there, which allows me to then figure out how to make an override, how to be able to use that to change and really kind of create everything. So this is the tool that I would recommend. This is what I use. And incidentally, I didn't start using this until 2019 when I had gone and visited. I was when they had a Joomla World event that was canceled. We ended up going anyways and went to Paris, London, and Amsterdam. In Amsterdam, they were showing me what they were using and how to use it. And I came back. In the beginning, it's rough having to learn something new, but it has made growth and progress 1,000 times faster since. And because everything's organized, and then you have a better understanding of where everything is, and it doesn't seem like it's so hard to be able to make those changes in the future. So going forward on the template level, generally in your templates directory, you'll have your template name. And if it's on a very basic level, you have your template details XML file. This is what controls like your module positions that show up. And this is also where I add multiple tabs for different fields. I'll have one for social media links, one for site images, even time-sensitive messages if you want it to flash on top of the site. And company info, holidays, which I'll show you. There's so many different things on a template level that we can create. And these are things that essentially don't change from page to page. Then the next level down is a menu level. And in this, the easiest way to kind of hijack your menu links is to create a custom system plugin, which for anybody that's interested, like I said, I can send you the basic one that I've created that allows you to create custom fields on a menu level that will allow you to turn things off. For instance, if you have a breadcrumbs module, you can keep it on across your site, but then have it controlled with an on-off switch that's controlled by your menu level. So if you want to have breadcrumbs turn on one page and not the other, then you can do that without having to, mess around on the module side. It makes it very, very easy in order to do that. It also works best when it's tandem with your includes directory that may also be in your template directory. The includes is what I use to help kind of break out the overall site structure. So that could be, for instance, the footer would be one of the files, the header would be another, the head, the main page function. And so I'll use this in tandem with this plugin that will allow me to then essentially control the template on a menu level as well. And so I can show you guys some examples of that in just a little bit. And then we have the page level, and these would be your, for instance, your article pages, category overrides. If in my case, I do a lot of overrides on J2 Store, on individual product pages and everything in between. It could also be custom field layout overrides, general layout overrides like pagination, the new module Chrome that you would use in both Joomla 3 and 4, module overrides, plugin overrides, all that would be controlled as well under your template name in the templates directory in the HTML folder. So all these things are found essentially in the general Joomla root directory, but the beauty is you can create your own versions of these in your template folder. And I know that for some of you that are on this call right now, you've been doing this for years, and there's others that may be more on the content management side and really wish that that maybe you knew exactly how to make some of these changes. And I would say this, doing some basic module overrides would probably be the easiest way to get your feet wet and test things out, because you can mess up all you want and just switch back on the module level for the layout view to the default one, and everything will look the way that it did before, and you can keep making mistakes until you finally get it right and have that aha moment. That's what I've had to do for years, banging my head against the walls, spending sometimes days trying to figure something out that now today may only take 7 minutes, 5 minutes to do, but it takes 5 minutes because it took me maybe 5 days to try and figure out back then. But I promise you, you spend 5 days figuring something stupid that shouldn't take that long, it never will leave your head again. So, and once again, it all goes back to, we're building blocks. Everything that you do is just making you better, and it's making your projects better and giving you that extra confidence to walk in knowing that you can make that big of a difference for them. So here's my information, and now we're going to get into the fun stuff, which is kind of showing you, really what we've been doing. And I have it on different desktops. So we're going to start off first with one of my largest current projects. Can you guys still see this? Okay, so this is a project that actually was skiing in Vail, and met the general manager in the lobby of the hotel, and asked for my card, and was surprised when he actually called me, because oftentimes we all know that people will ask for your card all the time, and not very often do they call. But he called, and originally he was using a proprietary hosting company up in Montreal, Canada, that charged him $200 an hour even for quotes, and had no access to any files whatsoever. And they wanted to remodel their website, yet we couldn't access any of the files. So I had to upload a CSS and JavaScript file as a JPEG, and then change the name and be able to use that. Luckily, their security wasn't as good as their billing department. And so that was the first test that they gave me. And at the time, they were doing about $1.5 to $2 million a month, and they're now doing anywhere between $2 to $3.5 million a month using this Joomla site. And at any one point, there is anywhere between 40 to 50 users that are currently logged in. This is a live site. And so just to, iterate that most of everything I do, I try to do it with using core functionality, because it's easier to maintain, especially migrating to Joomla 4. There were a few extensions that either took longer to update and get ready, or some that just never did. And it's very frustrating to have to build a business on using certain tools that may not be around. And so at least I know I'm not going anywhere. So by controlling these items, it allows me to also control my business and what I know I can do and can't do. And so as an example, they are right now in a conference in Vegas that is ending in 2 days. And this conference, one of their dealers had asked them, hey, we didn't know you were going to be there. You didn't have anything on your website. So 2 days ago or 3 days ago, they wrote me and said, hey, we're about to go to this conference. Can we add a section for all our upcoming events? I said, sure. And I thought about it, and I said, we can put a page that nobody will ever go to, but let's take all the information here, and let's actually use custom fields to do it, including the dates. Because then by having the dates, then I can actually use this in a module. This is actually a article category module that's showing up here, that is showing only one event, and the event only displays a week before whatever the start date is, and ends the day that the event ends. So once they create the event as an article and they fill in the correct fields, custom fields for this, then it will automatically show up a week before the next event, and it shuts itself down at the end of the. So that's the power, a very small tidbit of using custom fields and being able to use layout overrides to improve the experience and automate things that make their life easier. And the page that they have, we only had enough time to add the one event, but they're able to, because I'm logged in as an admin, they can add you know, as many of these events, trade shows that they want. And let's see if, okay, so here's the events tab for custom fields. And here's where they put the booth, the venue, the city, the state, all basic text fields. And then we have 2 calendar fields that allow them to select the date and time on when the conference starts. And that's the magic sauce. And then the code that we write checks the date and then displays it a week before the start date and then shuts it down at the end date. So all they have to do is create the event, put the right dates in for the event, and they're done. And then not only does it show up on the home page, it also, we have it show up on the side menu here, and then it goes away as soon as it's done. And so that is a quick example of using, you know, the articles area with custom fields to really create another aspect for the site that that really just improves upon the overall experience. This video here is actually another, it's another category. I call it my homepage hero category. This is an article with custom fields that are that are added to give them the ability to either add a static image, a video image like this, if they wanted to put a YouTube video, and to be able to control the top, all of this, all using custom fields and fully editable by the client. These 4 boxes here, this is a tags module. These are tags. These are their top industries that they have. And the beautiful part is that when they add these tags to a particular product, it actually shows those products here under the tag page, as well as when you go to the particular product itself, it also shows all of the industries that that particular product is perfect for, and it's tagged in right here. And so once they add the tag, it automatically shows up. It adds them, because it's a tag, it adds them to the construction materials page, and so on and so forth. So everything kind of works together. And this right here is one of their flagship products. This is one of their dealer costs. So you can imagine on a basic level the kind of volume that they're doing. But this particular product has 128 different options with all different prices that are being pulled from their Microsoft GP system and updated on a daily basis. And if they wanted to manually update it, we added a button that allows them to pull the pricing and inventory directly from their system. But everything that's here also allows them to edit the entire product and every one of their variants right here on the front page. And so if I'm clicking here, this is using just the Joomla front end. Here's where they can update the overall content. The custom fields that we use, I mean, just on the options and accessories side alone, you know, here's 17 of them that are that they can add, all using repeatable fields. And we can see there's a tremendous amount of information, and this is just the general information, let alone all of the information found for each of the 128 variants. For those of you guys that are familiar with J2 Store, this probably looks very familiar to you, only most people use this on the back end. These are all front end features, and we can see these are all the different variants. And when we open them up, each one has the ability to control multiple price levels, their SKUs, manage the stock, and additional descriptions that show up, and everything in between. So this is just one product out of 1,300 that this company, the manufacturer, has. And so a lot of this would not have been done had it not been for custom fields, and even in this case, using tags as a way of adding additional features and functionality. So this also is a variant. Since the Centurion truck scale for this company is their flagship product, they wanted to have the ability to create special splash pages that are not necessarily the manufacturer side. This would be more of a top of the funnel for ads that they would send somebody that is looking for a truck scale but may not be familiar with this company. And so as we scroll down, we go, wow, that's a pretty cool page. But if I told you that this was all created using custom fields, repeatable fields, and that the graphic designer was the one that was able to put all this together based on the template that I created for him, that makes it even easier because they can create these kind of pages for any products that they want. And for instance, all of these items here, options and accessories, these were automatically pulled from that particular product page. The industries down here, as we've already seen, these were pulled directly from that product page. So there's a lot of automation that's in here that helps add additional aspects to the page. And in case you're wondering what that looks like, this particular project is the last one that's going to be upgraded to Joomla 4. For obvious reasons, there's a lot that's going on. So I am working on upgrading the rest of my clients right now. And the idea is that by the time I get to them, it'll be much quicker process and far less painful. But in this case, this is the splash page. There's for this particular column, I've created a custom fields group called featured page. And so even a link product, this is just a SQL custom field that I use to pull any of the items from the product so they can select which product they want. If they want the link at the top over here to go directly to the product page, they can simply select product. If they want a form to show up instead to capture leads, they can do that. And then as they start scrolling down, they can control the general background color, the text, the link colors. And here's the different featured sections that they can then start to add. And if they want a background to be a container for Bootstrap or none, if they want the background to be an image or color, what the title, and then the main text content that they want, they can move these up and down depending on what they want. And so they can fully control the entire experience all through custom fields and layouts, essentially a page builder without having all the extra limitations of a page builder and all the extra stuff that goes along with it. But this is all core Joomla, and it allows them to be able to manage their pages, which, remember at the beginning, I hate doing this stuff, but I love building stuff that gives them the ability to do this. And so it empowers them. And here's, as a developer, here's the power of having your clients manage the site, is that they start finding things that they need to make their job easier, which means that's more jobs for you. But when they ask you to do stuff, they don't know whether changing an image or text or adding another feature, if it all just takes 5 minutes or not, because they're asking you to do stuff. But when they log in and they go, I really wish I could do this, that's another job for you that would never have happened had you just done all the work for them. So there is power in empowering them and giving them the ability to really manage the stuff that you create, because now they are like you. They're starting to think of how can we use this to improve the experience for myself and for the customer. And so with that in mind, some of the other examples of things that we've done that we try and keep consistent across the board is creating an admin dashboard. Now, this is basically a article page that has a custom layout override menu item that is here that essentially, if they need access to the back end, they click here, it takes them to the, essentially just adds administrator to the end of their link. But a large part of this, if they want to, let's say, go to their admin training section, this is a category, article category page that I've modified to layout override again, that essentially anything that they want to learn how to do, instead of me spending an hour showing them and they forget anyways and then ask me again, it's a section with nothing but training videos for questions that they've asked. How do I do this? How do I, and if they want, they can even filter it. Let me see stuff for product space, and then it narrows it down. Or anything for, images, changing the small category image on a category page. Or they can just type in directly and, let's say they want to type in image, it'll automatically show any anything that's got the word image in it, and then clicking on, they watch a short video that we don't want to hear that. But basically, this is a resource that allows them when they want to learn how to do stuff, they log in to their admin section that gets them used to using the site. And in this case, they also have a bunch of sales managers that wanted to send out newsletters to their customers that they're repping for, and the company wanted to be able to control the branding of the emails so they didn't look like they were just sent through their regular email client. So we integrated AC mailing. I've used AC mailing for years on lots of different projects. And so they create these newsletter templates on the administrator side, and then they can actually assign them to each of the different sales reps, where then the sales reps would go log into their account. They would go to their email dashboard. They would go to their My Emails, which is all AC mailing. And then they can sit here and they can create a new email that they want to send out to their custom list. And these are all ones that were created by their general sales manager and then assigned to each of the sales reps that for internal announcements or product announcements or whatever it is that they want to do. And then they're sent by the sales reps directly from the site here to their lists as the company. And so everything in this case, just all from the front end. And in this case, these are once again layout overrides that are in the template overrides folder in the HTML folder that we talked about earlier. But all of this is just examples of what we can do. And this is a Joomla 3 site. The same thing can be done on Joomla 4 and so on and so forth. In which case, I am now going to show a project we're about to launch this weekend, which is a Joomla 3 site that we are about to launch, upgrade to Joomla 4. And can you guys see this? All right, so in case you're wondering why there is snowflakes flying across the screen, this was another example of a template level customization that I add to all my projects. So what ends up happening is this allows the clients to schedule these different themes, and they can time them, but they start on a certain date, end on a certain date. In this case, if this is the Christmas theme, they can start at December 1st, end it on December 31st, and automatically updates the theme site-wide for them. This is a 4th of July theme, Independence Day theme with fireworks. And how easy is it for them to change it? Well, this is, once again, now we're looking at Joomla 4 here. We're in the admin dashboard, which looks very similar to the other site, even though they're completely different. But it makes it easy to manage, because the beauty is that when one client wants something cool done, they pay for it. And then I can offer it to other clients for a fraction of what it costs to develop, because it's already developed. It's just a matter of implementing it, and it makes it even more value added for the client, because they're all using the same back end. So I don't have to sit there and restructure all the HTML to match this template or that template, because everything works together. But on the front end, they all have their own unique experiences. And so in this case, going into the template settings, which is the very same thing as if you were to go in your back end of Joomla 3 or Joomla 4 and look at your template settings. This is the front end menu item that they can do. And so if I go to the holiday section, I even built in something for clients that want to see what the theme looks like without turning it on live. So if they're logged in as a super user, they hit the debug, they can turn it on, and only super users would see the effects of it and not the general public. So they can see what it looks like. You can show it off, and then they can flip off the debug, and they can schedule it right here as a repeatable field. They can even add, in the case of the truck scale company, I believe they have totally taken advantage of this. And I think they have 13 different holidays they've scheduled. Veterans Day, 4th of July, Memorial Day, they use the same theme. Thanksgiving, they have a custom truck theme for them on just general announcements that they want to have, with a truck flying across the screen and all sorts of different things. But in this case, we have the patriotic theme, Thanksgiving. If somebody wants to see, let's say the Thanksgiving theme. So right now I have this set because we're not launched yet. I'm going to switch this to Thanksgiving. I'm going to refresh. Come on, there we go. And we got autumn leaves falling down. And so each one of these things just adds additional value. But the cool thing is because the structure is the same and the back end overall systems are the same, it makes it easy for me to add these themes and integrate them in. And then integrating the Joomla fields that you can find, all the different available fields that are available to use in your custom template XML file. It allows you to create things and think outside the box. I guarantee you that most of your competitors are not offering this for their clients, and these small things are what separates you from your competitors. It doesn't matter what system other competitors may build on. It's the thinking outside the box and being able to do these things, all staying using core Joomla, is what makes this so powerful. And then additional, this message at the top here, this is also controlled by the promo section I created. So if I want to show the top promo box, it's yes. And I can even have custom colors to show up at the top instead of just the black or transparent. And we can create as many of these as we want. We can have them start and end at whatever date these messages need to be. And I even built in some ACL access level. So if we just want to show a message to the guests, or just to logged in users, or to all of them, they can definitely do that. And if they want to integrate a coupon code, they can do that as well. And so everything kind of all works together. And like I said, everything that we use, the social section here, this is what allows them to manage all of their social media links. The latitude, longitude help with Google with the structured data on the back end, so they can see exactly where everything's at. And the site page, if they have a disclaimer, if they have where they have their address in the footer, all this stuff is pulled from the same place. And so if let's say something changes, their address changes, phone number, I just have to change it here and it updates it throughout the site without me having to sit there and hunt and, oh shoot, I forgot this or I forgot that. So ultimately everything that's here is designed to make the client's job easier, to add more value. And the beauty is that over time you start adding all these really cool pieces into your arsenal that you can use in your next project, and then you can go back to your older projects that may not be active and say, hey guys, I can add this to you for X amount, and it gets them hooked back on the Joomla crack all over again. So ultimately, as much as we love doing this, we love it even more when we're getting paid, to do these things. And so all these things kind of build up. And if you, haven't been taking advantage of a lot of this in the past, it doesn't mean that you're locked in. Because I didn't know any of this stuff in the beginning, and I had no formal training. It was just literally banging my head against the wall and going on forums and, figuring stuff out. And you start with a small thing, start with a module override if you've never done it before, just to get used to it. And then you work your way up, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. I've broken plenty of things, and there's nothing that will motivate and innovate quicker than when your client's on the phone wondering what happened, and that you broke it, and you have to put Humpty back together again real fast. So, I guess I can open it up for questions. I mean, there's so much more that really I can I can show, but ultimately I think this kind of gives hopefully an idea of the possibilities, and if so, I guess we can open things up. I don't know how much time we have left, but
we got about 13 minutes left. You have 3 questions in the chat if you want to take a look.
Yeah, give me one
Sorry, yeah, in
second.
the chat, in the meeting chat.
Hang on here. Okay, oh, there we go.
There's one from Joe. Do you use Git for PHP Storm?
All right, let's see here. What was the question? Do I use Git with PHP Storm? When I'm creating like a custom module or plugin for a specific thing, I generally will. It just helps kind of keep things, especially if I'm working with another developer on it or somebody else. But generally, you know, I don't, just because the file's already sitting on my computer. And usually when if I have to go somewhere, I'll have like a zip. I'll use a Kiva backup. I'll create 2 profiles, one a full backup and then one for just the files, and I'll do it as a zip file. So when I go to, so if I'm traveling, I can put it on an external drive, export the latest you know, version, a zip version of the files, and then turn on my PHP Storm, my laptop, and I have the latest files. And then any changes I make, I just have to remember to sync them with my desktop when I get home. But the cool thing is sometimes you forget, but you know that the files are sitting either on your laptop or your home computer. And so it's just a matter of then just going and updating that file all over it, you know, pushing it back up. But generally I'll, when I'm switching from laptop to office computer, there's usually a few files I'll just check to see make sure it's the same on the server as it is on my computer. But you know, GitHub's great. It just it really depends on the different, you know, task on whether it's going to go up there or not.
So Karen asked if for that example client website, did their previous site do this too, or did you make this functionality new for them?
Karen, which site, the truck scale or the other?
Yeah, the truck scale and all the custom fields and all their access on the front end and
Oh no,
their ability to edit and add. Did they have that before? Or
they
that
did
was
not.
all...
No, their site was really bad, and the only reason why it took them so long to even pull the trigger on this is it's a big corporate company. I think they budgeted 60 grand to for their project prior, and it ended up costing them about 160 grand. And it was a very painful process from what I heard. So when they were proposing to move off of them, they were very, there was a lot of pushback from upper management because of how painful the process was. And so the way that I was able to convince them is they wanted to start creating blogs. So what I did is I actually built a Joomla 3 site that looked identical to their current site, and gave them the ability to create that. And when they wanted to create a landing page or they wanted to do a contact form, I slowly started to swap out some of the different pieces for the Joomla site. And so the subdomain would be like, for their support pages, support.vtech.com, which the average person wouldn't notice, but it was literally a completely different hosting company, different site, but it looked seamless. And so it was a way for me to kind of get them hooked on the ability that they can edit and they can add all these different things for far less than $200 an hour. I mean, just for something that would take me an hour and a half to do on a modification, they were charging them $15,000 to $20,000 because they couldn't go anywhere at that time. And so yeah, so that's how I was able to convince them. Instead of, obviously I had them pay me for these different things along the way, but instead of trying to work around their system that was almost impossible to work around or create something that looked totally different, I made it look the same so it was seamless. And then and it was almost before they even realized that now they were halfway in, half their site was the Joomla site and the e-commerce site wasn't, so it made it much easier for them. They didn't even have an option really of looking anywhere else because we were so integrated at this point. And so that I think comes from my aggressive marketing side in some ways, but it's just like anything else. You know, when you have kids, they don't want to take their medicine, but you still got to figure out ways of, you know, open up the, here comes the choo-choo train, here comes the, you know, because you know it's good for them, they need it. And as a developer, a lot of times you have clients or potential clients that come to you, and you know that you can help their business, you can make them better. And so sometimes they need a little push, they need a little, you know, a little motivation, whether or not they realize it at the time. And the other project, the recourse site, the Joomla 4 one that we're about to launch this weekend, that happens to be a good friend of mine. His wife had a previous site, I think it was on Wix or something, and their best month between Amazon and her site was around $5,000 to $6,000 a month. We launched her site January 16th of 2020. They were waiting for inventory from China. We all know what happened in February and March of 2020. Our products didn't get to her until June of that month. And so we ended up doing some online video courses as well, waiting for the products. And we launched some pre-sale sales, so they knew that they weren't getting them for 2 or 3 months, but they were buying them in advance. And their sales from that January through the rest of the year were anywhere between $18,000 to $20,000 a month, and that was before they got their inventory in. So you know, having a good site that's clean, that's easy to navigate, and all those things, those are, you know, cornerstones for keeping projects. I have projects that I am still actively working on month in, month out from 2016, and you know, these aren't small projects, but they use me because I know the ins and the outs of this, because I'm the one that built the template for them. I've broken it, you know, plenty of times, and I can put it back together. But the idea here is that, you know, I know exactly for that particular project what they need. They know that I know what they need. I speak their language. Each client has their own language, and once you know what they really mean when they talk to us, it makes it easier to give them what they really want. And ultimately, you know, that's what I'd rather have, you know, 15 projects a year that I've been working on, you know, year after year after year than, you know, 30 projects, you know, new projects each year that, you know, I don't have anything vested in. And so, because ultimately as a developer, you know, it's really our job to help them online grow their business, you know, and because that's the future of you know, of the world. Everything is online. And if we can have a better experience and help really our websites become the sixth man on the team to really help them in areas that they didn't even think possible, then you'll never have to worry about work. You know, when you're the rainmaker, you never have to worry about somebody needing your services. Everybody always needs improvement. Everybody always needs, you know, they would always love to increase their revenue and so on. So whether it's an informational only site or whether it's an e-commerce site, these are things that really separate us from everybody else. And anybody that has reached out to me in the past knows I am not shy. I will spend whatever time, you know, to pay it forward to help you guys, because ultimately the future of this project and the future of my company and future of a lot of your companies is dependent on Joomla being successful in the future. And the only way for that to happen is for every one of us to be, you know, the best at what we do and to be able to carry that and help others.
I see a couple people have unmuted. Do you have questions, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, it's very impressive. I just wanted to say that. I mean, it's for an enterprise site that it's really a nice way to keep the client designing so they don't break your design and make it easy for them. One question I had, you'd said custom fields and overrides, but then you'd mentioned writing some PHP, and that seems to be the and MySQL. Isn't that really the secret sauce and the ability of what you're giving them?
Yeah, in a lot of the ways, the SQL area is already covered if you're using custom fields. It's really just a matter of, because the information when you're saving in the custom field is already in there. So it's a matter of being able to use the right code. See, I discovered a long time ago, I never use, or rarely do I use custom fields in their positions after title or before content or whatnot. I always turn that off because I'm going to bring in the custom fields wherever on the page I want, whether it's on a module or whether it's in an actual page itself. But for anybody that's interested in how, what is that magic snippet of code and where do I put it and how do I know that I'm bringing this field in from this, I can help any one of you guys do that, because the moment that you learn how to do that, it opens the door for everything. And then you can create, you can go online and find other custom fields that are on the Joomla extension that may not come packaged. But once you know how to grab that data and use it inside a module or use it inside, an article override or any of that, then it really opens the door for unlimited amount of possibilities.
Joe, you had a couple more questions for Adam.
I see that the email routing service, yes. We use Spark Post and sometimes Mailgun. Just depends on the project and if they've already had that. And so both of them, when you're sending emails out from the front end or in general in bulk, I even use that for my, I plug in the SMTP settings for the system messages, because that's the easiest way of building up trust, because nobody ever lists spam when they're getting a confirmation email or they're doing a password reset. So every one of those email messages just help build that trust with these different third-party sites. So yes, I think Allison is about to leave, but you're welcome for my Joomla porn. So awesome. Let's see here. Yeah, I primarily, I use Bootstrap as a framework. I know there's other frameworks that are out there. Bootstrap, to me, I've been using it since Bootstrap 2. It just kind of, there may be some better systems out there, but for me, I'd rather use something consistent than constantly switch around. And I found that just like with my Joomla business, I know the ins and outs of how to customize a template, how to modify modules and everything else, because I focused on this one area. And that includes all the different aspects of it. If somebody asked me, how do I change content in a WordPress site, it would probably take me 2 hours to figure that out. Which for some of you guys, you guys would be able to figure that out in 1 minute. But I'm not familiar with that. And I know enough other WordPress developers that I can refer to them if somebody needs that. But if somebody wants to get, and oftentimes it's not the horse, it's the rider that really makes the difference here. So I hope that for any one of you guys that are inspired by this and want to learn any of this, by all means, shoot me a note and I'll help you guys. If there's an aha moment I can help you with, it would just be paying it forward from all the times, somebody ahead of me helped give me that same moment as well.
Adam, great presentation. We really appreciated you coming here today. And I love how you keep saying Joomla Core is so impressive and so much can be done inside it. And I absolutely agree. And that's why we're still along for the ride. And it is so important that we keep promoting Joomla and keep lifting everybody else up who also uses Joomla, which is why Mike loves volunteering and why I love Joomla Day USA and why this group has been such a success. And it's so true for all the reasons why we're trying to make a living off of Joomla Core. Anyone else have any final thoughts for Adam? Oh, 3 new messages. Let me see what they are. All right, everyone, lots of applause and inspiration. Thank you, Adam. It was a great presentation. Thank you so much, Joe, for asking him. And we love having our spotlight and our presentation every month. And really great everyone showed up today.
No, I appreciate you guys for having me. And like I said, don't be shy. If you guys need help, I do this all day long, and I'd love to help anybody that loves this. It's a lot better than nobody that wants any help. So, use it while you got it. Cause, I know when I started, I didn't have really somebody that I didn't have a Geppetto in my pocket to help me. But if there's anything you guys like from this and want to learn more, how to dive in a little deeper, let me know, and I have no problem in helping you guys.
Wonderful. All right, let me look at my notes. Let me stop that share. All right, so I do have to pick a date for the next meeting. I will get back to you. We won't be meeting in April because we'll be in Texas. If you're coming to Texas, I look forward to hanging out with you. If you can come on Zoom and check out the great speakers, that's also very awesome. Any other news anyone wants to share before we close out?
Yeah, I'd like to address a comment that was made by Derek there. He said the presentation was fascinating and a bit intimidating, and I get it. Whenever I see this sort of a presentation, I realize the power of Joomla, but I feel very limited in my abilities. So I wanted to comment on that because I think Adam made a point of saying that he's not formally trained. He learned all this stuff himself. He just got fearless and dove into it, made mistakes, and just learned. I think that the thing here is don't despise small beginnings. Like the advice Adam gave was try something small and figure it out, because I think it's once the concept becomes clear, that's the aha moment that you have. And then you realize, oh, so many things can be done. We just saw proof of it by watching Adam today.
Thank you. I did write that part down. Start small, start on a module, I think you said, and work up. We'll do that.
And you know what, in the group, guys, if there's like more than just one or two that want to learn how to start small, that maybe you've never done a layout override or never, done this, I don't mind doing a short, Zoom training on just that to help you guys get started. Because oftentimes it's getting started and figuring out where to start from is 80% of the battle. That once you get going, you guys are in here for a reason. So once you get going, then you'll be able to figure the rest out. But it's sometimes just getting started that's oftentimes the hardest part. And so, if like I said, guys, if enough of you request it, we'll maybe just do something in the next week for 30 minutes, an hour, and walk you through that and show you exactly the easiest way to start off on a basic module, so you can move stuff around, add additional stuff, and even bring in custom fields or whatever it is that you need, and show you how to do that. Because I'm telling you, once you guys are able to get that part down, the sky's the limit, and your projects you'll be able to charge more, you'll be able to offer more value. It's just going to improve the experience that your customers, your clients have with you 100-fold.
It's interesting. We've only really had maybe 8 or 9 meetings since we started last June. And I feel like I've taken something from every meeting where I never would have thought to try those things before. And I use Latest News Enhanced, which Olivier did a presentation at our first meeting. I use it almost on every client now. We had someone come in and talk about custom fields. I had Frank tell me at the last meeting to try Polypane to test my responsiveness and accessibility. He's speaking now, the developer is speaking now at JDay USA, not even related to Joomla, just a tool you can use on any website development project. So I think the members have said what they like most about this group is how inspired they get to try things, or they get back to me after the meeting and say, oh, I'm using Watchful now and I'm doing my backups automatic, just because they hadn't heard to use that or a different tool. Or so reach out to people after the meeting, follow up with them on Facebook, send messages to them, ask them questions, and take baby steps and try things out on your next project. If you want to do some of the cool things that you see during these meetings, and you can go back to that presenter and ask them, okay, how do I get from A to B? I highly recommend it because we've just grown so much more together as a group of 15 to 20 than we were before when we were by ourselves trying to do this on our own. So it's been very inspirational being part of this group, and I've learned and benefited more than I ever thought possible. So thank you everyone who comes every week and spotlights and tells us about their lives, and for all the great speakers we've had as well.
All right, so I think Joe sent me a message. He's going to organize a small group at some point. So might as well strike while the iron's hot, Joe. So, you know, just let me know some times at work, and you can even schedule it on my site, which you already know how to do on the calendar if we need to, and I'll extend the date on that.
Right, so I sent Adam a direct message through another chat platform. And so what I would like to suggest is that if anybody wants to sit in on a 30-minute or whatever he thinks is appropriate, to just go through the fundamentals of doing a layout override with custom fields and to get your feet wet with that, contact me. I'm Joe at joesunny.com or Joe at joejoomla.com, and I'll compile a group of people. We'll set up something on Zoom, and then we'll do it at a convenient time where Adam is available.
Joe, thank you so much for heading that up.
Can't you also announce that on the Facebook group that we're in?
Yes, Joe, I'll have Joe do that. Yeah.
Yeah, good idea.
Because you can, if you get a date, I could set it up as an event, or we could just post it. Either way. Very informal.
Perfect.
It's a closed group, so.
Whatever works for you guys. But I'll give you all the secret sauce you need. And, you know, once you get this and you copy the code to the next item, and then you start exploring, then you can bring in custom fields from the contact manager, from the user, you know, I mean, there's so many things you guys can do with custom fields that go beyond just articles. It's so powerful.
Love it. Brilliant. Everyone, have a great week, and we have a great month till next time. Thank you all for coming, and I'll get this posted on YouTube before long.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robin.
Thank you.
And thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
So amazing.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Bye for now.